Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's presentation, we're pleased to welcome Hyunsu Jung to the program. He's the CIO or Chief Investment Officer and Director at Hyperion DeFi. Interested to learn more about this company and their operations. Before we get into it though, take a second, hit the like button guys. Big help to myself and the channel, specifically in getting this content to other people who may find value. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below if you've heard of Hyperliquid or Hyperion before and if you're currently holding shares. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, a special guest, Hyunsu Jung, CIO or Chief Investment Officer and Director of Hyperion DeFi, a very interesting company. We were just chatting before we started filming here. A lot of companies getting involved in the crypto treasury or crypto strategy space. Really excited to get into today's discussion. So thanks so much for making the time.
Thanks, Bryce. Great to be here.
Hey, we're looking forward to it. Because it's your first time on the channel, can you give us a quick introduction or background to yourself and how you got involved with Hyperion?
Yeah, great to meet everyone. My name's Hyunsu Jung. I'm the CIO of Hyperion DeFi. We are a DeFi company that has built our treasury around Hyperliquid, which is the native token of the Hyperliquid Layer 1 blockchain. We have been live for officially 1 month. So in that time frame, we purchased just over 1.4 million HYPE at around a $35 average. We've launched a co-branded validator with Kinetic, a liquid staking solution for Hyperliquid. And now we are exploring various strategies to generate real returns on the HYPE position. So we just thought that there was an immense potential with Hyperliquid and its growth. And this seemed like the most reasonable strategy to take with a public company.
Yeah, makes sense and great timing as we're starting to see this sector really pick up. So I bet you can guess my second question for you. Hyperliquid itself, can you give us some details about the underlying token, the ecosystem, and what kind of advantages, I guess, this brings?
Yeah, definitely. Hyperliquid is a layer 1 blockchain that is optimized for high frequency transparent finance. And so it is built on top of its order book, Perpetual's DEX platform. And it is unique in the sense that, the product started from this decentralized Perpetual's platform and is also tied into its own layer 1 blockchain. So it's EVM compatible, which means you get all these smart contract applications. You can do lending, borrowing, other kind of financial instruments or access to financial instruments. And more importantly, there is a way to both the Hypercore and Hyper EVM can speak to each other. And there's an immense potential to generate returns from participating in both verticals of Hyperliquid.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the fees, the volume, the market in a second here, but you just made reference to something really interesting with Hyperliquid, talking about the market adoption, I guess, and the transactions being used here, the smart contracts specifically. So this is something we've heard obviously with Ethereum, Solana. Can you talk to us a little bit about these smart contracts and how they help navigate kind of or future-proof the financial world?
Yeah, definitely. I think DeFi or decentralized finance is the big word right now. And it basically democratizes access to, like I mentioned earlier, financial instruments. So stable coins is another reason where if you are in a country where your currency is inflating or debasing in its value, you are able to access stable coins and basically retain value to your assets. And for those that have held Bitcoin, right, and have seen it as kind of digital gold or an inflation hedge, you've outperformed significantly any other asset you could have held in the same time frame. And so when it comes to Hyperliquid, you have the benefit of a very robust digital asset in the sense that when it is used on the Hyper EVM, it's burned for gas. So you have a deflationary mechanism there. And then on Hypercore, all of the activity completed on the exchange generates fees, right? The fees generated from every transaction. And what the assistance fund does, which is an automated structure built directly on Hyperliquid, is that 97% of the fees generated go back to purchasing back HYPE. And so you have this kind of marginal buyer effect, which is not seen in any other protocol. And that's why we see it to be so much more exciting than Ethereum, Solana, and some of these other ecosystems and strategies. in addition to the fact that Hyperliquid is continuing to grow in users, its accessibility and reach is continuing to scale. And through Hyperion DeFi, we actually offer a very simplified way to access all the stuff that's happening on chain.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that perpetual buying component and the deflationary or gas fee aspect as well. So you talk about the fees, the amount of people that are now using this token, and I guess comparison of the fees to some of the other cryptos we see. One of the big criticisms of the Bitcoin mining companies we cover extensively on the channel, they obviously get the block reward, but transaction fees have been historically low. If you look at this chart here, comparing the fees of Hyperliquid to some of these other cryptos, pretty astonishing considering what we're seeing with Bitcoin or even Ethereum.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that a lot of your audience has kind of started in the Bitcoin miner space and kind of it being a proxy to originally Bitcoin being hard to access for many investors or other interested parties, and BTC miners serving as a conduit to kind of get that exposure. And so Hyperion DeFi is the same model, but as you alluded to here with the fees that you're bringing up, Ethereum has really been on a run in terms of fee generation just these past couple of weeks due to the attention around, the Genius Act, other kind of regulation, stable coins, and so forth. But on top of that, or exceeding it just a bit right here, is Hyperliquid, right? And so it is earning more fees than Tron, Solana, Bitcoin, BNB combined. And this is just in the past 24 hours, right? And so it's a really incredible mechanism. And the thing that we loved about Hyperliquid is that everything in the way that it's been designed from the ground up is extremely well incentive aligned. So participants, those that are engaged in building on the ecosystem, and even for holders, when you know that 97% of the fees that are being generated are going back to purchase Hype, you know that you are kind of part of this larger community and ecosystem where the growth continues to move in a virtuous cycle effect. It's so unique.
Yeah, it definitely is very interesting to learn more about this. Now, I wanted to zero in on the company business model a little bit as well. So Hyperion DeFi, we've seen really two camps here in terms of these crypto strategy or strategic companies, ones that have some sort of underlying business that's aligned with that cryptocurrency, and some that are just new entrants to the game, like MetaPlanet, for example. Underlying business has nothing to do with Bitcoin. In your case here, your underlying business is very closely aligned with Hyperliquid, Hyperion DeFi, go hand in hand. Can you talk to us about the business model, the synergies there?
Absolutely. So we think that obviously there's a lot of excitement around treasury companies generally. One important distinction that I want to make is that Hyperion DeFi is not a treasury company. We are truly a DeFi growth technology company in the sense that, when you look at other major players like BlackRock, Cantor Fitzgerald, Circle, PayPal, Robinhood, right? All the new frontier is blockchain-based infrastructure or expanding into that space, whether it's creating your own stablecoin, bringing real world assets on chain, and so forth. And so for us, owning a large Hype position is just the first step. Having a validator was the second step. And now what happens with Hyperliquid is that, for example, there's something called HYP3 or Hype Improvement Proposal 3, where a user with 1 million Hype can basically have the right to create their own perpetuals market. Now that is an opportunity unlike in any other ecosystem. And what it creates is an opportunity for those that have insights or ideas about, it may be existing markets like S&P 500 mini, WTI crude, could be more abstract markets like inference or compute tokens for AI. And you are able to create a new market for that, bring on the same participants, but access them within the same ecosystem as Hyperliquid. And so it means you get better liquidity, better settlement. Hyperliquid can do up to 200K TPS. And so that there is a really significant technological and accessible advantage to doing this all on Hyperliquid. And most importantly, as we've seen with cryptocurrency and generally ecosystems, is liquidity begets liquidity. And so we expect to continue to see a compounding effect, and Hyperion's role is to help grow that and benefit from the growth by helping to engage with teams and create those kinds of markets.
Yeah, very cool. Now you just made reference to the fact that Hyperion DeFi is not necessarily a hype treasury company, but there are some other hype treasury companies out there, some peers, some publicly traded competitors, so to speak. So can you talk to us a little bit about them? If people are maybe comparing your company to theirs, what should they be aware of here?
Great question. First of all, I'll start by saying that it really is amazing to see that we are not the only ones in this space. Hyperion DeFi, we are proud that we are the first publicly listed NASDAQ company to have started to build a hype treasury. But I would say that there are a few important distinctions in terms of really diverging from not just hyperliquid treasury companies, but treasury companies as a whole, right? So, if you want to start with obviously Strategy and MetaPlanet, they've done an incredible job of using public equity vehicle and the kind of engineering that you can do around the stock to generate more capital to purchase Bitcoin. And that's why you've seen such a powerful growth effect in BTC. We're seeing that now with Ethereum, more attention, very, very large players like Bitmine and SharpLink, for example. And then as we trend a little bit further into, call it more exotic assets like Solana or Sui or BitTensor, there's obviously a staking component, but that's about as far as it goes. Maybe some discussion around like DeFi, like lending, and then options writing against those assets. With Hyperion, we are fundamentally different in the sense that you need to have, call it 1 million hype to create the market. And that's probably the most exciting primitive that we saw in Hyperliquid. And then in addition to that, every additional bit of hype. So it can be delegated to trading partners to bring them online to be more competitive in the marketplace. We can also work with teams that are building the front ends for other people to access hyper liquidity on the back end, and it's abstracted away. But we make them more competitive. And so we're having those conversations with so many builders in the ecosystem, and we see the excitement, the passion, and the regional focus that each of these teams have. And so Hyperion is able to expand globally. And there we may not be the largest given the announcement earlier this week, but we are the most agile and we are able to deploy the capital today. And that's what matters here in this space because 6 months in crypto, as you're quite aware, is a lifetime. And so we want to move as fast as we can because this is a really immense opportunity that we have.
Yeah, the word agility is one we use on the channel quite a bit, and that's definitely a key competitive advantage. Now, you just mentioned the staking activity. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? I know you guys manage your own validator. How does staking work in this ecosystem?
So Hyperliquid is a just delegated proof of stake blockchain. And so you right now, the active validator set is 21 validators, of which we are one of them. And and then the users or holders of Hype delegate their stake to whichever validator that they feel most comfortable delegating to. And all of them together help contribute to the liveness security of Hyperliquid blockchain. Now, this will become more and more important as more volume comes online. And as a result, your technical requirements and the general expertise of those running validators will have to improve in line. So we have put a lot of time and focus into making sure that that component is very robust. And then more importantly, the proof of stake component creates kind of like a baseline yield. So on average on Hyperliquid right now, it's around 2.2% APR. And that's call it like our baseline return. And for Hyperion, our investors, that kind of flows to our investors in the form of additional hype per share, right? So your hype allocation per share is growing over time with that. And then we include with it the strategies that we plan to run within the Hyper EVM, so call those the DeFi strategies. And then on Hypercore, which includes HIP-3, some of the delegated stake components. And then all of that combined becomes a very, very powerful mechanism through which we are able to generate returns that are beyond just a native staking yield.
I was gonna say, yeah, very creative, and everyone obviously looking for yield. Interesting, 21 validators, 21 million Bitcoin. So some similarities there between the two platforms as well. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here. You guys are obviously making waves in the space, crypto in general, a lot going on. You just made reference to some of those key bills going on in DC right now for Crypto Week. Can you talk to us about some of the key upcoming catalysts for the sector and then for your company specifically?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think we're just in a really amazing time. It's great to see that there is strong push from the administration and those who are involved to get more regulatory clarity. We are very proud to be a company that's based here in the United States, and we want to represent not just Hyperliquid, but the entirety of the crypto ecosystem on a global sphere. That's the most important because all of this is going to become very interconnected. The interoperability component of blockchain as a whole is what is going to make this all kind of converge together. And so we're just excited to get more clarity around what works and what doesn't, and we will always do our best to comply with regulatory conditions as they come about. But we make sure we do a good job of, KYCing our counterparties, working in the right ways to make sure that we are engaged with the right kind of folks. And then in terms of Hyperliquid's catalyst, we have a very, very aggressive plan to get a lot of the stuff that I've talked about earlier on, like HYP3 and some of the delegated stake deals, completed or signed by the end of the summer, in the sense that when HYP3 does become live, we do want to be one of the first teams and to continue the experimentation and more so the market awareness of what's possible on Hyperliquid. And by doing that, we bring more folks, we bring new creative direction, and then all of that combined is what will make Hyperliquid, in our belief, very, very successful, even more so from where it is today.
Yeah, makes sense. And there's more information on both Hyperliquid and Hyperion DeFi on the corporate website. I'll leave that linked below along with your X handle or social media. I wanted to throw it back for any closing thoughts. I feel like we've done a pretty good job of covering the bases here, but is there anything we've missed or any final thoughts you'd like to leave viewers with today?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Bryce, for having us on. And thanks to all the listeners out there. I know this was a relatively short overview of what Hyperion and Hyperion DeFi and what we're doing within the Hyperliquid ecosystem. As you had mentioned, we're doing a larger corporate update on the 29th of July, I believe at 2 p.m. Eastern. So there should be a link somewhere here provided. So please feel free to sign up, and we'll also be doing a Q&A session there as well. And so it'll be a lot more in depth, and we can get into, how we think about Hyperion DeFi going forward, the broader demands of decentralized finance and what's possible. And the last point that I'll make is that most of your audience has been kind of pioneers in looking into what's the next new thing, right? Bitcoin miners, and crypto adjacent companies. And I think that for those that learn to understand more about Hyperion DeFi, will realize that decentralized finance and blockchain infrastructure is the next frontier, and Hyperion DeFi seeks to be one of the most competitive in that space. So looking forward to it all.
Yeah, well said. And we'll make sure we leave a link to that press release. There's also some key bullet points in terms of the topics at that discussion as well. So great interview today. I would say you did very well for your first time on the channel. I've learned a lot about the company and Hyperliquid itself. You guys, if you have any additional questions for the team, leave them in the comment section below. We'll try and get those answered. If you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value. Hit the like button. It helps get the content to other people who may find interest. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, just about at 44,000 subscribers. We'd love to have you as part of the community. Thanks so much for your time today, and we look forward to having you back soon.